What is going on, my guys? Nick here from Pro Wrestling Unlimited, bringing you the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, sponsored by Fightful.com. Got Tim here. Tim, how you doing?
Pretty good here on a Friday. Gonna bring you guys some news from Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful.com. So let's just kick it off.
Let's kick it off with the Ronda Rousey contract signing. So Tim, take it away, my man.
All right. So this week about the Ronda Rousey contract signing, Sean did write here in the Fightful Wrestling Weekly. I spoke to a backstage employee of WWE who told Fightful that the company was prepared for thunderous boos or a great ovation for Ronda Rousey at Elimination Chamber. Thinking,
good sign.
Pardon?
That's a good sign.
They thought it can go either way. He goes on to say, the thinking on WWE's behalf was to give Rousey someone that she could cheer against off the bat in Stephanie McMahon. Says that Las Vegas, she was very popular in Las Vegas because of the UFC. She fought there 8 times as a professional and amateur fighter. WWE does consider that her home territory as far as where they think she will get the most cheered. Like when certain people go to like their hometowns and stuff, even though they're heels, a lot of times they'll still get cheered in their hometown. He said, look for Rousey to be very similar to Shayna Baszler, using a lot of MMA fighting tactics in her wrestling. Baszler gained some odd criticism from a fan recently for not running the ropes, something you'll see out of a lot of MMA crossovers. Sean Waltman, among the most level-headed of former wrestlers and wrestling opinionists these days, defended Baszler on Twitter over the situation.
Yeah, and I don't think running the ropes necessarily if you don't run the ropes, you're not a wrestler. Because that's not true, because I think now in wrestling, you have such specific wrestling styles where it's like you don't need someone that runs the ropes. You can have someone that could snap your arm off. So I think that's where Rousey's gonna come into play, where she can bring a completely different atmosphere to fans that aren't really exposed to outside wrestling. There are WWE loyalists, so she could bring something new that they haven't experienced before. So that could be really exciting.
Exactly, and I mean, she's got that background in MMA. Everybody knows her as the former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion, and they want to keep that in her repertoire as far as the way she's going to wrestle, I guess you could say, or fight, or however you want to call it, in the WWE, to make her seem like a legit badass. And having her just run the ropes and kind of do MMA moves might take that I guess you could say, legitness of her fighting style away.
Honestly, I think you're right. If she is out there running the ropes, hitting clotheslines, stuff like that, it's going to take away from her roots and what she's good at. She's good at being that legitimate, scary fighter. So I think, look at a guy like Brock. The last time I genuinely think Brock ran the ropes?
When?
That Extreme Rules match against Cena.
Possibly. And
because I remember him hitting the ropes and doing a little jump. That was the last time I remember him hitting the ropes.
Right. And
don't ever remember him doing it since.
And the other thing, her only have officially full-time been training for a couple of months now. She may not even be that good at running the ropes. And she may be like some of them, when you first start out, when you're going running the ropes, you look good, and then you start, not want to say getting tired, but it's just, once you hit the ropes a couple times, you slow down a little before you hit it the next time. You like you see from some people that first come into NXT right out of the Performance Center and stuff. They're just, not want to say sloppy, just a little slower at running the ropes, and that's going to make fans be like, oh, she can't run them properly. Screw her.
Yeah, and I think that's just not fair to her. I think if you put Ronda Rousey, in the PC and she's running the ropes, so she's trying real hard, and you can tell that she's genuinely interested, and you put in Joe Schmo in there, they're both going to fare equally because it's a learning process.
Exactly.
I think it's just something that comes over time. I've heard a lot of wrestlers, oddly enough, and especially more credit to Ronda, I've heard a lot of wrestlers shoot on, running the ropes is probably one of those hardest and most annoying things because it A, wears you down, and B, it's just something that sounds so simple that you just want to get right. And, going on to our next topic here, speaking of shoots, we got a little bit of a shoot with Double J Jimmy Jacobs.
Jimmy Jacobs. So Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com spoke with Jimmy Jacobs. I think the interview took place last week. And in this clip we're going to play for you here, he talks to Jimmy Jacobs about transitioning from a producer backstage with the WWE to a producer backstage with Impact Wrestling and the differences as far as WWE taping Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Tuesday. So it's just one show a day. But then you go working for Impact and you're doing 2 shows a day, 6 days in a row. No breaks in between like you get with WWE. And then having to work late that night after the taping to get the next day's taping ready, barely getting any sleep over those 6 days. So let's hear what Jimmy Jacobs had to say to Sean about this.
Here we go.
As it pertains to your schedule with Impact Wrestling, obviously the taping is a lot different, but how does that affect things when you have so much to do in such little time as opposed to WWE, where it's that constant grind and that constant like travel and things like that? How has that changed for you in that regard?
I mean, it definitely is. It's a different thing, right? Yeah, WWE. The schedule is 24/7, man. It was. You know, you fly out Sunday to do Raw Monday, to do drive SmackDown Tuesday, fly out Wednesday in the office all day Thursday, meeting with events on Friday, writing Raw and SmackDown on Friday and Saturday. You know, it was just nonstop. With Impact, it was crazy. It's like right now, it's like the calm before the storm, and you know, in the next few weeks, we're going to start putting together creative for the upcoming shows, and then come you know, we did this set of tapings at the beginning of January, and it was like nothing I've ever done in my life, man. It was like 6 days taping, you know, two episodes of TV per day, and then afterwards, you know, going back to the hotel room that night, and then looking over, you know, the next day's creative and staying up till 6 a.m. doing that, and, you know, working these, you know, 18, 20-hour days, you know, 6 days in a row. And I remember, you know, Scott Demore and I were, we took a lot of the brunt of the work. You know, Sanjay was at home. He had just gone through surgery, so he couldn't come down for these January tapings. So, you know, Scott and I were up every night. So, you know, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, you're working on the next day's shows. I look at Scott and I go, after one of the nights, you know, it's the morning now. I look at him, I was like, Scott, I worked with Vince McMahon for 2.5 years, and it was the hardest I've ever fucking worked in my life. So it is a lot rolled into one.
All right, and if you guys do want to hear the full interview Sean did with Jimmy Jacobs, head over to Fightful.com or the Fightful YouTube channel. Right there, you will have the full interview. So next up, Sean talks about in the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, and them wanting to do, like, I guess a ultimate deletion. That's what Matt called it on Twitter. Sean wrote the following.
What?
Matt called it the ultimate deletion. He said ultimate deletion is coming.
I think you mean ultimate deletion.
Yes.
That was awful. Anyway, what did Sean write?
So Sean writes, I've been told by several wrestlers that Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt were campaigning hard to Vince McMahon to get their program going in the direction they want to go. Virtually all the assets that helped make the broken Matt Hardy character so popular are now at WWE's disposal. Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Jeremy Borash, Rebby Hardy, Maxwell, Vanguard 1, Senor Benjamin, as well as the TNA footage. He goes on to say, I typically try to stay away from reporting storyline news myself because I don't see a huge benefit of it, but I'm told that Vince McMahon has given into some of the requests creatively for Hardy and Wyatt. He then says that Matt was considered far more for a creative. He says Matt was considered for a creative role backstage within TNA, but with his departure and Jeff Jarrett, you know, really not wanting to work with Hardy that much, it led to him leaving the company, coming to the WWE.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, a lot of people see Vince as this very stern, mean guy, which most likely he is when it comes to his work. So, you know, something's got to be good when Vince is like, you know what? Do it. Prove me.
Here's my question. Do you think if it wasn't for the broken characters, they would have re-signed the Hardys? If Matt and Jeff weren't as over with Brother Nero and broken Matt Hardy, you think they would have re-signed them?
Yeah.
You think they would have came in and been, well, I mean, they would have had to come in and be tag team champions right away if they were getting, you know, in the tag team title match at Mania. So now here's the thing. When do they do this match? When do they air it? Do they air it at Mania with 65, 70,000 people sitting there watching on the screen?
I think that's the rough thing is you don't know. I mean, here's the deal. WrestleMania is indoors this year. And this is my complete argument. If it's indoors, yes. Just air it on the big screen because that makes it a lot easier compared to an outdoor setting where people are like, oh man, it's outdoors, the sun's kind of glaring on the screen in a certain way, and I can't really read it. But now you're going to be indoors, you're going to be able to get that kind of effect. You really got to make that crowd understand that what they're watching isn't just the end of what they're watching. Like, just because you're watching it here doesn't mean that it's going to end there. It's going to spill out into the ring. It'll probably start in the ring, spill out to the pre-filmed, and back in the ring. I mean, it has to.
Here's the issue with that. Matt said in another tweet about Bray meeting him at the compound. If they film it all in the Hardys' property, then you can't do that as far as having it spill out to the ring.
It's true.
And then here's the other thing. If they play this video at WrestleMania on the big screen, are people just going to use that as the bathroom break or go get my popcorn or my hot dog, refill my drink?
No, because I think the media attention and the reactions that people gave to Final Deletion, oh God, people were going crazy. They either hear me out here, here, because people either said, oh man, this is so stupid and crazy, whatever I just watched. Other people said this was film genius. No better, director could make something this good. So I think with that attention that it got, it could make something extremely interesting that can keep the crowd involved, even if you gotta maybe break it up into segments, my guy.
See, that's what TNA did when they aired it the first time. They broke it up into segments on the show. They played like one segment, they did a match or something in the ring, then they played another segment on TV. But I just feel like at WrestleMania, you have to just play it all at once. The crowd may get bored with it because they're just sitting there watching something on the screen. They're going to be like that Raw 25 crowd. Why did I pay to come watch something on TV when I could watch it at home? But at the same time, it's for WrestleMania. Matt may have an even bigger budget than he had within TNA just because Vince is like, well, you know what? If we're going to do this at WrestleMania, we got to do it right, pal. We got to just put all we can into it.
Exactly. So I'm with it.
That may be a good thing too. Like I said, if it's for Mania, they may put more money into it. But here's the final question I've got on it. Is Matt given the full control that he had back in TNA, or does Vince try to put somebody else on it and say, well, here's my best writer, he's going to write it, and then you can maybe tweak it or something?
No, I see. Here's my best writer. He's going to run ideas by you. Let him know what you think. Work with him. I think he's going to say, work with him. Because I think he wants to make Hardy happy here. Because I think he knows how big of a draw both Matt and Jeff are. And assumably, if Matt's happy, Jeff's going to be happy. Vice versa.
But has Matt really been that big of a draw since he started the feud with Bray Wyatt?
No, but I think Vince even knows that just like they just need a catalyst. They just need a spark under their butts.
Which you're not wrong.
Get it going.
Because honestly, the broken stuff really didn't kick off till he did the first Final Deletion or whatever. Everyone was kind of confused on what Matt was doing. They did that first video from the compound, and that's when they blew up. So you could be right there. They just need something to just kick it off in WWE.
Exactly. They just need that boost. And let me tell you what doesn't help, my guy. What really does not help is a lot of the production guys sometimes are not too good. You got random cuts left and right, which I feel like is going to be
there's going to be zooms. There's going to be wacky zooms all over this thing.
Oh, and if we don't get a drone shot, I might actually be kind of upset.
Oh, you should. I mean, I hope they use Vanguard 1.
I do too, but speaking of zooms and random jump cuts, if you guys don't follow Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter, you probably missed out on one of the greatest videos in all the world. So why don't you check this out from the listing, you boy. Why don't you just watch this real quick? I think you guys will enjoy.
I know that I said I didn't want to work for WWE when Corey Graves posted that tweet and kind of indicated that anybody who fancies themselves as a wrestling journalist wanted to work for WWE, but the truth is I do. I really do. But it's not as a writer. I want to work for WWE in all aspects of production. Like, Kevin Dunn, I'm coming for your job. I've been practicing. Now, I know that I just have a little home office here in Ewing, Kentucky, but I've been having my wife help me practice, and I think I have the WWE style down. Zoom! 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 Camera cut! Camera cut! Camera cut! Do it! You gotta do it! There's some trial and error, mainly on her part, but thanks to the WWE's style guide, essentially, I think I've nailed it. This is how you do it!
Why would anybody do that?
It's just the way things are! I've been working my WWE style commentary too, and I think I'm pretty good. Oh! Oh my! The Shield is rolling! See, when I get to WWE, things won't be different. But, I mean, at least I'll finally work there, right?
And if you do want to see the full episode of The List and Ya Boy, you can go over to Fightful.com, or you can check it out right here on Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Now, probably one of the biggest things that's been talked about within this last week, ever since about SmackDown, there is a certain man jumping out the sky who was reported to be backstage at SmackDown Live, wasn't. He's at the house show. Now he's reported to be Cena's Mania match. He's also been reported to not be his match. So what's going on with this whole Rey Mysterio thing, my guy?
Well, Sean writes here in the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, much has been made about Rey Mysterio's return to WWE. I've been told no deal is done, but the two sides will be talking soon. Mysterio was actually at SmackDown Live house show on Saturday night, not SmackDown Live in Los Angeles on Tuesday, as reported elsewhere. He goes on to say, when I asked a source in WWE about the rumor of Mysterio possibly wrestling Cena, a backstage employee told me, if Mysterio is facing John Cena at WrestleMania, it wasn't hammered out in the last week of February.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot up in the air. And I just... God, for the life of me, I just think as a wrestling fan, the legacy behind Taker is slowly getting diminished. And I think a match against Cena, watching how slow he went last year against Reigns, I just think it's going to be tough to watch him one more time. I think it's going to be tough, man.
It will be, yeah. And you don't know, if he's going to limit himself. We have seen videos online of him training for a match with Cena, hearing that that's probably still the match, but we'll have to wait and see. It's very interesting that the Rey Mysterio name did randomly come up, and I was thinking today about this.
Go ahead, and I'll say my thing.
Now, say they do go with Rey Mysterio. I'm going to just say this as if it's confirmed, but it's not. So don't take this as fact.
Not confirmed.
Say they do go with Rey Mysterio, and they want to announce it right after Fastlane. WWE is not going to put Rey on TV for 2 weeks just for him to show up at the New Japan show and then 2 weeks later WrestleMania. They're going to want whatever Rey's doing to start to kick off after the New Japan show, because they're not going to want people to think, oh, are you guys working together now? Or they think, oh, look, New Japan stole your boy from you, or this. And they don't want a lot of there's going to be a lot of hearsay on that. So I think if Rey Mysterio does do something for Mania, he may not be able to come in till that Monday or Tuesday after the New Japan show in Long Beach, and then that gives him 2 weeks till WrestleMania. I don't know if that's enough time to set up something for Cena. Plus, you have to have Cena kind of stall for a couple of weeks after Fastlane.
Now, hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. I would just have Cena show up at Long Beach, my guy.
No, how would that work? WWE doesn't work with...
Make it!
WWE...
Cena! You're going to Long Beach!
So WWE's gonna quote unquote invade New Japan Pro Wrestling with John Cena? What is this, 2001? WWE just bought WCW?
But Vince, I live in Tampa. I can't do that. I can't go down to Long Beach. You're going to Long Beach! You're facing the small guy!
You already killed your gimmick there. Everybody knows that Cena will fly to 3 different locations in one day for work.
That's true.
You already killed your gimmick. He'll fly from Tampa to New York to be on the Today Show in the morning, and then fly to wherever SmackDown or Raw is that same day, and then fly back home that same night.
My guy's probably gonna have a plane, his own plane, private plane. But regardless, what would you guys want to see? Would you guys rather see Taker Cena or Mysterio Cena? Do you even want to see Taker wrestle again in the WWE or ever again? Let us know down in the comment section below, or you can tell me on Twitter at PWU_Armstrong. And that's going to do it for the Fightful Wrestling Weekly this week.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see more from Fightful, go over to Fightful.com, where they do a lot of stuff with pro wrestling, MMA, boxing. You can get the full Fightful Wrestling Weekly over there at Fightful.com. And of course, they're always updating stuff on their Twitter. They got a lot of different Twitter handles. Just follow their main one, Fightful Online. And of course, you can find me and Nick over at Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Find us on the Pro Wrestling Unlimited YouTube channel, on Twitter at PWU Unlimited. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Timmy Buddy.
Yeah, and I already gave you guys my Twitter handle, but if you forgot it, it's PWU_Armstrong. Let me know what you think about Cena's WrestleMania plans. And with that, thank you, my guys. See you next week.
Have a good one, guys.